All right, hi, my name is Ben, and I'm presenting for GBDA 211's country presentation, and this is a brief overview of New Zealand's business landscape. I'm going to be talking about their current business environment, opportunities for Canadian business, and New Zealand's culture. As for their current business environment, their currency is the New Zealand dollar, denominated as NZ. One New Zealand dollar is equal to 87 Canadian pennies, and they have a GDP of approximately 210 billion US dollars as of 2020. Now, this contracted around 12% from 2019 as a result of COVID, but the impact was ultimately less compared to other countries. I'm sure how you saw that New Zealand lifted restrictions earlier than most other countries and returned to a normal way of life pretty quickly, and this was due to a great response to the global pandemic. They only had 25 recorded deaths by January 2021, and this was due to a strong government approach, existing emergency response infrastructure, and large wage subsidies for the public. Now, speaking politically, New Zealand is also a member of the Commonwealth, which means that they have a very similar political makeup to Canada. This meaning the Parliament holds legislative power. It consists of the Queen, represented by the Governor General, and the House of Representatives. They have a multi-party system with two dominant groups, the Labour Party and the National Party, and currently the Labour Party is in power, represented by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. That's just her in the bottom right. I think she is one of the coolest world leaders out there right now. And as for trade, they export mainly raw materials such as crude oil, wood and paper products, and agriculture, and they import mostly processed goods such as refined oil, machinery, and vehicles. Now, this may not seem great since they already have raw goods and Canada exports a lot of raw goods, but they need cars, and we are the fourth largest car exporter in the world, which is a huge opportunity for Canada. So, since Canada already has a lot of export export infrastructure for automobiles that can be easily tailored to trade with New Zealand, and they also have similar work culture to us, which can be a segue for the sharing of skilled trade workers and working professionals. By this, I mean we have similar legislative infrastructure, and that could allow for ease of entry for future international employers. As for current FDI, Canada accounts for 22% of all foreign direct investment in New Zealand. This is mainly regarding machinery, aircraft, and wood products. As for weaknesses and risks, I believe that the biggest risks stem from differences in our cultural beliefs. First of all, being that New Zealand holds environmentalism to a very high standard, and Canada kind of has a bad reputation with not being eco friendly, especially with oil. And second of all, New Zealand has a society that is very respectful to their indigenous population, known as the Maori, and Canada is not very good at that. So I think that these differences should be accounted for, as it might influence the way that people in New Zealand view Canada and Canadian companies. But as long as they're accounted for, I think that it wouldn't be a major problem moving forward. As for the rest of New Zealand culture and customs, New Zealand culture is very similar to Canadian lifestyle and Western business practice in general. By this I mean, generally there are no honorifics. First name basis is established pretty quickly. They have similar greetings and business etiquette, so a handshake and a smile, that's all you need. And the dress codes are also very similar and subject to situation, meaning suit and tie is standard, but you can take off your jacket and roll up your sleeves when you get comfortable. Compared to Canadians, people from New Zealand tend to be a bit more laid back. There's no formal class structure, and like us, they are community oriented, but they're a bit more isolationist. They're pretty progressive as a welfare state, by this meaning they have unemployment benefits and housing and healthcare to those who can't afford it. So people in New Zealand tend to be pretty open minded. Do not confuse them with Australians, though. People tend to see them as culturally synonymous, but they are not, and they hate being grouped together. And thank you. I hope this prepares you well before doing business in New Zealand.